Hey guys, somebody asked me recently about what it's like to work for a Japanese company, what it's like for a foreigner to work for a Japanese company. Pretty much, Japanese companies pretty much own their staff. You know, if the boss asks them to do overtime, they do it. Often it's not paid. If the boss says on Thursday afternoon, tomorrow night we're going out for dinner, or we're going drinking, everybody's going drinking, everybody just says yes. So if they had other plans or whatever going on, they cancel them because, you know, the boss has said they've got to go drinking. So yeah, that can be hard for foreigners. Like in my country, unions are very strong and workers have a lot of rights, and work and personal life are really well separated. But in Japan, really the company comes before family and friends and everything. Really, it's the first thing, and there's lots of examples of that. You would have seen in the wedding videos that the most important guests at a wedding who get to sit at the closest table to the bride and groom is the boss and the other senior people from the company, and that's just an example. So the company really owns the staff. In return, I mean, I do hear a lot of things about what companies do for their staff that we don't have in Western countries. One example I heard recently was one old retired guy was telling me how, you know, he had to have all this medical stuff done, and his company that he used to work for, that he was then retired from, was paying for it all. And that sort of stuff's pretty common. So the loyalty thing, the loyalty the staff show the company is often returned from the company to the staff. So that's the traditional way in Japan, I guess from the old feudal times, I'm guessing. But yeah, that's the case. So it is pretty hard for foreigners, and foreigners, I mean, usually what we're really talking about here, I guess, for foreigners working in Japan is usually English schools or language schools. So the way foreigners are treated and the way they're portrayed in language schools is really, I mean, the phrase dancing clown is sometimes used, and it's a little bit like, and we see this on TV too, sometimes they'll have a program on TV about learning English, let's learn English, and the teacher, the guy that everybody shows all the respect to, and the teacher is usually Japanese, well, actually always Japanese. And yeah, he's the boss, he's the teacher, he's the one everybody bows deeply to. And then he'll have a performing clown, he'll have a foreigner standing next to him, and he'll explain some principle of English, and then the foreigner will demonstrate it by saying it, will perform some English. And usually the foreigners that they use for that are usually nerdy, sort of clown type guys. I have heard it said that the reason for that is that really cool, good looking, you know, Western guys are a little bit intimidating to Japanese people, they can make them feel a little bit intimidated or a little bit uncomfortable. But a sort of a clowny guy, I mean, this is sort of true of Japanese guys on Japanese TV too. They tend to be sort of silly, clown-like, funny-looking. I don't mean this in a critical way. It's just the way it is. Anybody that's watched any Japanese TV will agree with this. You know, that most of the guys that are famous on Japanese TV, you know, they're real clowns, really. So I think it's just because I don't know why. It's just the way it is. So yeah, to get back on the topic, for foreigners working for Japanese companies, it can be really tough. I mean, I've actually never done it. I've got a lot of friends that have, and I get a lot of information from them. I've worked in association with Japanese companies before, where they've contracted me to do stuff for them, and yeah, it's tough. It is really tough. There's the way of doing things in Japan's really different from other countries. You know, if there's something that's a bit silly, or there's something that should be done a better way, or could be done a better way, you don't mention it. It's not the way Japanese companies work. So you often get asked to do things that are, you know, pretty weird, or that might not be so worthwhile. It might feel like a bit of a waste of time, and that's what I hear a lot from English teachers that work for foreign companies, for Japanese companies. That's one of the most common complaints complaints I hear is that the bosses don't listen to them. They just tell them, do this. And the teacher will think, oh, this is pretty silly, I don't really want to do that. And then there's no choice, you just do it. And then foreigners that come to Japan to work for Japanese English schools and for Japanese companies are usually put up in apartments owned by those companies. So you really live, if you work for a Japanese company, you really live and breathe the company, you know, night and day. And they will control, if you live in an apartment that's owned by the company, they will control what you can and can't do in that apartment. They'll tell you you're not allowed to have friends there, or they'll tell you that you're not allowed to have more than one friend there at a time, or they'll tell you you're not allowed to have people staying there. So it's pretty tough. I mean, a little bit like being in the army, I guess. You've got to be prepared if you work for a Japanese company to be pretty flex and to put up with some stuff that's pretty difficult without making any comments. Because it's not, you know, in most Western countries, you know, you can say to the boss, hey boss, really, is this the best way to do it? Japanese company, you can't do it. You just got to say hi, bow, and do it. So yeah, not easy. So if you're going to come work for a Japanese company, you better flex up something serious.